Enrique, what's up, buddy? Glad you can come along and join us. Taking some time out of your day and give this little YouTube channel, provide them with some useful information. I told you a second ago, it's nice having an actual smart person on, and I actually wanted to pick your brain about a couple of things, man. Do you want to talk about what you do first of all?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm glad, happy to be here.
Appreciate that, man.
Glad to see you again, man.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah. So pretty much, I'm a chiropractor. I do a little bit more sports med style.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to incorporate more of that kind of like sports med into the general population, because I feel like if you want to get an athlete back on the field a little bit quicker or as fast as possible, use that mentality with everybody else.
I think I even sent an athlete, Gali. She was actually getting ready for the national tournament.
Yeah.
And she had, I think it was a shoulder.
Yeah, she actually dislocated her shoulder during a match.
Mm-hmm.
She came in and her range of motion was limited, a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she told me she was going to go to States. So then we're like, all right, let's see what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
Get you back out there. And she ended up doing really well.
She took second in state and then actually won a couple matches at the national tournament. Imagine that, how tough you got to be to dislocate your shoulder and not only perform, but perform at a high level and still place top 2 in the state. And then go to the hardest tournament in the country and still win a couple matches and grind a couple out. That just, speaks to her toughness. What kind of other athletes do you work with?
I work with boxers, some football players, soccer players. I've had a few like volleyball players too, baseball players. So a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Everybody has a little bit different body types, different things that they have to do. So kind of work with all that. But everybody's kind of like a little bit similar. So look at the same things, try to get them back on the field a little bit quicker than what we would expect.
And I actually want to talk to you about your credentials, man, because you actually you're a legit a legit doctor. You want to talk a little bit about your resume and what degrees you have?
Yeah, so I went to Dominguez Hills for my undergrad. So I got my bachelor's there. I started working at a physical therapy clinic for about a year after that. So to start off, I was going into physical therapy. So I was getting everything done, like my observation hours, working hours, all that, all those prerequisites that they make you do. So I was working there for about a year, and then met a few people there. One of my coworkers, which is a close friend of mine now, he started talking about chiropractic. So then before that, I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was like this Salvador.
What did you initially go to school for?
Physical therapy.
Yeah. And then you got into chiropractic.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
So he's the one that got me into it. I started looking into it. We both applied to the school. We both went through the whole process and we got in. So after that, 3.5 years of it, it was pretty intense. It's actually the most studying I've done since like high school, like all combined. If you could imagine that. Because before, like you studied.
I wouldn't know. Tests. I didn't study in high school.
Well, yeah. So like my weekends, it was pretty much just studying. There was a quiz, a test, pretty much every week.
Wow, that extensive.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then finals were like 3 weeks. Midterms were another like 3 weeks. So you're always taking a quiz or a test. So after that, we graduated. I did. At first, I was planning on working for somebody. Maybe like a year, maybe 2 years, get a little bit more experience in the field. Because what they teach you in school isn't really translate a lot in kind of like in the outside world.
Right.
So
How so? I'm sorry.
Well, you learn everything about the body, right?
Right.
They teach you how to apply a few things, but textbook and real world, a lot of times there's a lot of differences. So especially the business side of it.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
When you go through school, they teach you how to be a doctor. They teach you how to treat, all that. But once you start meeting different people, different body types, different issues. So a lot of people have more like chronic illnesses that you have to kind of like also take account. And aside from that, just how to talk to people, how to present yourself.
Right.
Pretty much how to do
the social aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
And that pretty much goes a long way too. Because if somebody doesn't like you or you're not really like clicking, then for one, they're not going to come in for treatment. And two, they might not get better.
Right.
Just because they're kind of like, they're guarding themselves.
Right.
So they're not going to pretty much follow with you.
How hard was, I mean, you're a pretty like, social guy. Like you're a regular dude. You know what I mean? As educated as you are, I've always seen you as a regular guy and always had that like ability to communicate. Just, you can kind of talk down to my level. Like you made, as educated as you were, you always, got the point across to me and broke it down in a language for me to even understand. How hard was that for you to kind of to find that gauge? Was it easy, or did you have to work at that a little bit?
Well, it was kind of easy just because that's the way I am.
Right.
Right. So let's say I do have to explain something a little bit more like difficult, or I have to write charts or something like that. Then I'll put, like fancy words, right?
Right.
But I feel like for everything, you have to make it simple. If you can't make it simple, then you don't really know it.
Right. It's a lot of just, what do you call it? Just word gibberish, word garbage. Yeah, word garbage. I don't know. I forget what the term is, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Because I know a few people that are like that, where they'll talk to you in a language that you can't even comprehend or understand. And it's like, dude, I'm just asking you a simple question. Like, what do I got to do? And I think that's a way, it's like a defense mechanism for making them feel a little bit more educated.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, if you're talking to like a patient that way, and the point is for them to understand you, then you're kind of like missing the boat.
You're missing the point, right? For sure.
You might throw in a few fancy words here and there. That way, like if they're,
it shows you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then they see like if you're a little bit younger, if you're like, okay.
Right. They're kind of feeling you out.
So if you throw in like maybe a big word here and there, then they're like, oh, okay, like maybe he knows what he's talking about.
For sure.
Yeah.
So in your line of work, you get like patients that range from, general population, all the way through athletes. What are a few of the like most common like chronic pains that you come across? I'm sure it's like lower back pain, knee pain. I want, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for mostly the general population can experience a little bit more low back pain.
Right.
So that's what I see a little bit more. Neck pain is going to be the second one. So a lot of times, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people were working from home. So I started seeing a lot more like neck pain just from their seam position.
Right.
Yeah. And that added to lack of activity. So maybe their only walk of the day was from the car to the office. Right. So now they're just going from bedroom to
workstation.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're spending 8 hours there. Now next couch.
Okay. Right? And so let's say something like lower back pain, because that's something I think a lot of people experience. Like 9 times out of 10, I have a client that experiences lower back pain before they even walk through the gate into the training facility. How do you normally treat or what's something you could do to avoid? Because I'm sure the people that do listen to this, if they do listen to it, have experienced that or do experience it. Like, how do you normally treat, or what can you do to prevent that?
What's hard to prevent, but you could always reduce the risk.
Okay.
So something I tell everybody that's able to is at least go for a walk.
Right.
Go for a walk. Try not to stay in one position for too long, whether it be sitting, standing, or just kind of laying down.
Right.
Because when you're inactive, when you're not moving your joints, that's when you start getting those aches and pains. So something I always tell people, just at least go for a walk. If you haven't been walking, you haven't been moving, start off with a few minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes around the block. That's it. And then start building upon that.
Something that's simple.
Yeah.
Something that's simple, but we find a way to avoid even just the minimal amount of activity. But that's just the, I guess, the general population. That's what they find themselves doing, is just living a stationary lifestyle and not even doing something as simple as going for a walk. What about knee pain? You get a lot of people in with knee pains?
On occasion, yeah.
On occasion?
Yeah.
How do you normally treat those?
That depends, because if they're having knee pain based off just if they're squatting, if they're starting a new program like that, and then they haven't been doing that before, then you gotta see if their hips are moving correctly, if they're kind of just progressing a little bit too quickly, where their body's not able to catch up. That's when you start feeling a little bit more knee pain. Or if somebody's starting a run, then that could be another case where they're running too many miles a day and per week.
Okay. And is that just because the impact of how they're hitting the floor, or like what surface they're running on?
Could be the surface. Could be that their body's not really ready to run. So running is, a lot of people think, all right, I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to start kind of exercising. I'm going to go for a run. But you have to be at a certain type of fitness level to actually be able to run.
Right.
So a lot of times you have to start off with some strengthening exercises, get your body moving in that direction. and then start lightly with like certain runs.
And how much of that do you think correlates with like inflammation from foods that they're intaking? Is that a big part of it too?
That's a huge part of it. Yeah.
Right.
So things that they eat might cause inflammation in their body. So if they're already overworking their body and then they start eating more inflammatory foods, then that starts adding up to it.
What are some of the most common like inflammatories that you've like? I mean, we all eat BS here and there. But like in your experience dealing with clients, do you ever assess like, hey, what's your diet look like? And okay, we got to cut this out.
Everybody's a little bit different with that. Certain people have a little bit more sensitivities to certain things. Like I had a patient come in and tell me that they're actually sensitive to like broccoli and stuff like that, spinach. So they stay away from that stuff. So it's more kind of like just they have more like stomach issues with that. So they're like, all right, let's cut that out. Let's move on to something else.
Hot Cheetos now.
Hot Cheetos.
Right. But yeah, I mean, based on my knowledge and what I've seen, like it's a lot of the processed junk foods that cause that inflammation in their joints and bodies. You know, the chips, the sweet, especially the sweets.
Yeah, the sugars.
Anything that's processed, fast food. You know, a big part of that. Alcohol, another one, another high inflammatory. And it's a lot of stuff that just the average person consumes on a daily basis, man. And I think it sounds like BS. Like, hey, the reason why your joints hurt is because you're intaking all this food. I think a lot of times that goes in one ear and out the other. So now that we have someone who's actually in the field of making you feel better, saying that, hey, the foods that you're consuming, what you're intaking, is correlating with why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
Yeah, exactly. If you start eating a little bit better, it doesn't have to be like drastic.
Extensive, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could just make sure you're eating enough protein, whether it be like lean protein, red meats. Red meats, you could kind of gauge how your body's taking it at first. If you're feeling a little bit more sluggish with what you're eating, then it's time to kind of look, all right, what did I eat that day? And then see if we could start changing or start decreasing the amount of that.
I've been intaking a lot. Like I've been making it. You probably see my stuff where I have like I'll buy a ribeye and I'll save half for one meal. And next, man, it's making a huge difference in just my activity, my energy levels, and how my performance is when I go for runs on the trails or here in the weight room. Made a drastic difference. Like who would have thought not having Pop-Tarts for breakfast and having an actual food that was alive, how much of a difference that made.
Yeah,
man. And that's one of the things that Hector and I talk about all the time is cereal. How much how bullshit cereal is, man. Like, I used to think when I was younger, I'm eating, Special K, so this is good cereal for me.
Yeah.
But like you look at the content on it and it's like, how much is it? Like a serving is like a fourth of a cup. Who eats a fourth of a cup of cereal? And then you include that with the GMO'd up milk. You know what I mean? The processed milk. How much sugar like goes in behind that? And that's the sugar that's causing all the inflammation. So like what's a solid breakfast for anybody? To like obviously you said bodies differentiate, but in your experience and what you've seen, like what's a solid breakfast for most people?
Solid breakfast for most people, I would assume it's like eggs. Maybe throwing a little bit of bacon in there, get your fats in there, get your carbs in there, so maybe some hash browns, some potatoes there. So I feel like that's the typical, the common one. Of course, people are going to throw in their pancakes. They're going to throw in a whole bunch of other stuff, syrup and all that, right?
Right.
Which tastes good, but you really want your proteins in there. You want your carbs for the day. That way it gets you moving in the right direction. That way you're not hungry throughout the day and now you want those sweets.
Right. Yeah, man. I've noticed you've been cycling a lot, man. How's that like on your body? You feeling pretty good off doing that?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
How many miles how often do you ride?
Well, I try to ride twice a week, like Thursdays and a Sunday. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Right.
But averaging maybe 25, 30 miles a ride.
Wow. How long does that take for you?
Now, we're traveling maybe like 20 miles average, maybe a little bit less. So for like a 30-mile ride, maybe like an hour.
Nice. How therapeutic is that for you? Is that like your kind of like your getaway, kind of like your mental therapy,
Yeah.
The physical aspect, but the what it does for you mentally.
Yeah. Well, the first couple miles they suck.
I'm sure. Yeah, just warming up.
Yeah, you're warming up, and you're trying to go like a certain speed. So like in my mind, I'm like, why am I doing this? Right. But then you hit that point where it's just kind of everything's kind of gliding, everything's moving. and then your mind just kind of escapes. You're just kind of like focusing on the road, but you're not really thinking about anything.
You ever
else.
get like a runner's high while you're cycling? You ever get runner's high?
Oh yeah. But I feel like I have more runner's high when I'm running than cycling.
Okay, you don't just that flow state.
Yeah, because cycling sometimes is a little bit more strenuous. So you're kind of like thinking like, all right, gotta keep going, especially if it's windy. But when I'm running, I feel like I get that a little bit more, especially after that first mile. You get that little kind of like endorphin rush.
Right. Yeah, I've gotten that. I used to get that a lot when I was a big runner. I used to run a lot when I was in high school. But in college, I tore my ACL, my meniscus, wrestling in college. So I kind of backed off it a little bit. My knee wasn't able to sustain that type of impact. But I've been doing it a little bit more. Who would have thought not running on pavement would have done so well for me? So I'm doing some runs on the trails, and I'm trying to get out there every Sunday or so. And I do about 7 miles, and I noticed like I had forgotten about that feeling, and I started feeling it again recently. And man, it's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah,
you're right. It's that endorphin rush. It just you feel that, like you just feel that the air is intaking a little bit different. You know what I mean? Your thoughts aren't so like spread out. You're zoned in, and it really is like an endorphin rush flow state. It's a beautiful feeling. So if you haven't had that like runner's high, don't rush into running. You know what I mean? But if you can't experience that, by all means, like try to get into that state, because it's a really, really it's a beautiful feeling. Yeah,
the best feeling that I remember having. We're training for a marathon, and we were doing about 14 miles that day. So about mile 8, 9, that's when I felt it. And it was a good day too. I like running like in a gloomy weather.
That's running weather, right?
Yeah, perfect. So I hit that point, and then I think it was a song Mark Anthony was singing. So that came out. And it kind of just like
reignited. Reignited. To give you that second wind.
Yeah.
When's the last marathon you ran?
It was 2021.
That's right. Okay.
No, actually, no.
Because that was during pandemic, right?
Last one I ran was 2020. So I ran 2019 and 2020.
Okay. How'd you prep for that? Just running.
Just running. So I had I actually used an app, the Nike app. So that one you pretty much put your race date. And then your fitness level, how much you weigh, your age, and all that. So it spits out like a good program for you.
Right, it gives you a GPS, like it tells you exactly where you ran. I use that every so often. I'm not consistent with it though.
And for the most part, like before that, I was running maybe a few miles. There was a couple months where I wasn't running. So I started off low. I started off with like half a mile the first run, and then that's it. I knew I could run like maybe 6 miles, but it was like half a mile, that's it. Next day, it was a rest day. And then that week, I ran maybe like 1.5 miles total. Okay. And then I started building up on that.
What did your diet look like when you were training for the marathon?
Well, I had to take a lot more carbs.
Yeah.
So I did lose a lot of weight there during that span. But yeah, I was eating a lot more carbs. I knew I had to pretty much intake a lot more like proteins as well.
For recovery.
Yeah, for recovery. And because if you're not taking enough calories, you are going to lose that weight. And it might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing, just because you're not going to have that energy for the next run. So you got to make sure you got to refuel.
Okay. Right on. Are you working with any particular athletes right now at the, out of your office?
Yeah, I'm working with a few boxers. One of them is Omar Trinidad. He's actually having a fight August 4th, if I believe.
Oh, he's a pro boxer.
Yeah, pro boxer. He's fighting off of right there, QC 2020.
Oh,
this Thursday.
Right. Oh, this Thursday.
Well, August 4th, that Thursday.
So the following.
Yeah.
You going into that one?
Yeah, so I'll be there.
Nice, sweet.
So he's been doing really well.
Right on. And like for boxers in particular, what are some of the reoccurring injuries that you see with them or ailments that they have?
For them, also kind of depends. Sometimes it's low back. Sometimes it could be just shoulders. They're a little bit more fatigued there.
Right.
On occasion, it's their neck. But they have some solid necks.
Yeah, you have to have as a boxer. Yeah. Well, that's going to prevent like the recoil and the whole concussion thing. Yeah, that's one of the things with my combat athletes, wrestlers in particular, because you're in your stance and you're having constant tugging on your head, snapping of that motion. So I think a strong neck is very, very beneficial when it comes to any contact athletes, wrestlers, because they're always having it snapped on. Football players and boxers, because that's what's going to prevent that concussion process. How do you normally treat that? Like, like strengthening the neck, or what do you recommend? Because I remember when I was younger, we used to do neck bridges, which I wouldn't recommend. You don't want to. I'm from my experience, it never felt good. You know, you're just basically. You ever seen a neck bridge where you lay on their back and they bridge on their head?
No, I haven't seen that.
Good.
No.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. Yeah, you cringe if you saw it.
That one up.
But we used to do that all the time. That was like one of our stretches. Like imagine laying on your back and you're doing like a glute bridge, but you go all the way up to your forehead. Yeah, it's an old school thing, but we used to warm up with that every day, man. And once I kind of got a little bit more involved in strength and conditioning, how to properly take that approach, that was one of the things I cut out. Like we're not freaking neck bridging anymore. Like one of the things that I would have them do was lay back flat, just bring your head off the ground, isometric neck hold, just a 180. You know what I mean? Even a 90 degree, just turn your head just from that laying position, and it doesn't look as effective as a bridge, because that's what all wrestlers, at least the ones that came before me, who I interacted with, and the ones who I coached, who had been in the game for a while, they're like, oh, we've always neck bridge. But from someone like that, just sounds like a bad idea, right? Just laying on your back and putting all your weight on your head.
Could be. I have to see it.
You have to see it.
I have to see it and try it.
I'll pull up a video right now, man. But how do you normally treat your athletes when it comes to that, like in the neck?
When it comes to the neck,
do you have the iron neck?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, how do you like that?
I love it. I actually love it.
Do you really? What do you have your clients do with that?
So a lot of times I have them do isometrics with it first. Have them do a lot of chin tucks with it. Mm-hmm. That way we strengthen the neck flexors and start relaxing the posterior muscles with that.
This was safe. Let the ad go through, man. You're gonna laugh at this, dude. I don't think this looks safe at all. And I've actually seen dudes add weight with it. Oh, come on, dude. I don't want to see that. So you were saying the isometrics with the iron neck?
Isometrics, and then I start doing like maybe rotations, some side bends. Have them do isometrics, kind of walk away from it, so increase the tension, and then slowly like walk back. So you want to train pretty much all the different planes of motion with that.
So that one doesn't look so bad. He's doing it like he's leaning. That one doesn't look so bad. It's when they go around, and even that looks like a lot of
yeah,
like
looks pretty intense.
Yeah, and that's like one of the drills that we would do all the time, like just to warm up. Like we're cold doing that too.
That's pretty crazy.
It looks silly. I mean, look at it. It looks like it's this is the one right here. That right there.
Oh, that one.
But yeah, that was a drill that we did like every day before practice. And like that's at the University of Iowa right there, man. And they're like that's one of the top programs in the nation. Oh, like you and your expertise, like what's your take on something like that? Like that's how we would hold it at the beginning.
Okay.
Maybe I'm being a little bit over dramatic.
Sometimes when something looks that extreme, like that, it might look like, oh no, that's bad, don't do it, right? But it's not until like you start like trying it yourself.
Never felt good. It never felt good on me, man. No, I hated that position.
Okay, then yeah. So I mean, I think what they're trying to do there is because when you're wrestling, you're in like crazy positions all like that, right?
Right.
So they're trying to mimic that, and then getting your body primed for those positions.
Okay.
So there's probably some benefits to it.
Right.
Where you're getting your body accustomed to those like strange positions. That way, when you are doing that in a match, then you're able to kind of like feel comfortable in there.
Right. But you got to think, okay, let's look at that prototypical high school kid right now. What's the prototypical high school kid doing for the most part? Playing video games, stationary. They're in class all day for 8 hours. A lot of them haven't even touched a dumbbell or a bar. And their first day of practice.
And they do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not the best idea. Like if you're experienced and you do have a solid foundation as far as your neck goes, your body can probably adapt and, sustain that type of impact or or motion. But especially for high school kids, that's not something that I personally like. Maybe I'm soft. Maybe it's a softer approach. But there's a saying that I love, man. You have tradition and you have science, and we got to find that middle ground.
Yeah,
because if you lean too hard to either side, it may not go according to how you want it to go. You have elements of tradition that are like that, or it's like it's going to develop some type of mental toughness, but in the long run, as far as longevity, it's probably not going to work out well for you. That's probably when you do have guys who have compressed discs and neck issues. But if you lean too much to the science aspect of it, you don't get that like type of grittiness, mental toughness that you would get just from the traditional approach. So that's why I like that little sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah, and that's for everything, dude. You got to find that middle ground. You got to find, what science is telling you, the evidence, what tradition is telling you, but also what you're seeing yourself.
Right.
So you're somebody that's gone through that, so you know what it feels like. You know what the negatives are. You know what the pros are for it.
Right.
So now you want to incorporate all those three things into one and then make it your own.
Gotcha. So that's kind of like the conclusion that I've come to. I'm telling you, like I would do that. Like my first day of wrestling practice, we were doing that, and it's like, this. At the time, you're just doing whatever coach tells you. He must know what he's talking about. Yeah. But even 3-4 years in, it's like there's got to be a better way to stretch out your neck. Like there has to be, man. But what else? I had something else that I was going to talk to you about, man. Anything else that you want to throw out there, like as far as like treatment options, like any other injuries that you see a lot of that could easily be like treated, just based on your experience on what you do.
Yeah. So pretty much for any type of like injury, anything like that, I always tell people like move the joint, because the only way that your joints get its nutrients is with movement.
Right.
If you're not moving that joint, if you're just kind of like, let's say the knees. If you're sitting down for 8 hours, when you get up, they're going to feel achy.
But the doctor at Kaiser told me to sit out for 30 days.
Yeah, those days are long gone.
Those days, right. And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on, man, because, I've had, it sucks, but like when I have an athlete, whenever I'm coaching, gets hurt, it's like, don't go to the doctor. Like, I don't want to say, I didn't mean it like that, but you go to the doctor, automatically, they're going to tell you, sit out 30 days.
Yeah. Let it rest then.
Let it rest.
Yeah. But what happens? You let it rest. Yeah, you're going to feel better, right? But once you go back to your sport, you start loading it again, then you're going to feel it again. One. Yeah. So why not start from the beginning, right?
Right.
Yeah, you want to consider everything. Like if it's a little bit more severe, maybe not do a few things, right? But you want to load those muscles. You want to load those joints as soon as possible. That way, when you are healing, you're healing correctly and you're getting back a little bit quicker.
I remember, what was that, like a year ago? I tore my bicep. And you were the first person that I called, man. You were actually the first person. I took a picture of it. I was like, I got to call Enrique, see what he thinks about this. And you're like, yeah, that looks torn. That looks torn. And you prescribed me with like isometrics. Yeah. And it did wonders. Like I didn't go under the knife. It's still, you can still kind of see the tear, but it works. And that went from, I did that not sitting out. I kind of, worked around it. I was a lot more smarter with that. I didn't load up fucking 45 plates onto a curl bar and continue that. But, I went, very light loads, held it isometrically, 10, 20, 30 seconds, work my way up. And before I knew it, it healed itself. Like there's some motions I got to be careful of. I got to be a little bit more consciously aware of, my training sessions now. But I mean, I avoided going into surgery just listening to some advice you gave me, and it was just, hey, just work isometrics, see how that feels, and then if it feels worse, we'll tinker with it. If not, we'll build off of it. And I think I only saw you like once or twice, and I mean, Lord behold, it's doing the job now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear, man. Yeah, because a lot of people they're scared once they get injured. You get that fear, right?
Right, for sure.
You don't want to do the things that kind of got you to that position. So that's sometimes when people come in with certain pains and I have them do a few things. Yeah, like I see them sometimes struggling a little bit more. Sometimes the things that we do are a little bit painful. But I know that I'm always kind of monitoring them, right? So I don't want it to get too painful. I don't want it to be where it's making things worse. So that's where that little bit of experience comes in, kind of like knowing what you're expecting and knowing what you're going to be kind of like doing. So sometimes it is a little bit painful during the certain treatments, especially the biceps. If we do some myofascial release on any bicep, it's going to be... Can
you explain that, myofascial release?
So myofascial release, so we're taking the muscle and we're loosening it up a bit. Right. We're breaking up some adhesions there, making it a little bit more like efficiently moved. So with that, a lot of times I use just my hands. I'll put some pressure on there. We'll take the muscle through a shortened to lengthened position. That way that muscle is gliding under that pressure and then slowly starting to kind of like release, quote unquote.
Okay. Yeah, I remember exactly. That's the process that we did. I think you put your thumbs on my arm and we extended it. Okay, do you feel pain? Okay, cool. Okay, that's where where the buildup is, and that's where the pain is. That's what's causing that motion right there is causing the pain. And yeah, man. Usually, whenever I have any injuries or I have a client that comes in and they're not feeling so well, you're usually one of the first people that I recommend. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. No, for sure, dude. It's like I fuck them up and you fix them. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. That's never the intention, man. And we said earlier that I messed around earlier and I said that we have like an unofficial partnership because anyone who's active, are more prone to sustaining some type of injury because of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yeah, you actually are one of the people that I think highly of, and right away, I know a guy. Pull up your Instagram, you know what I mean, and I show him your page and show him that the work that you do, and it's the proof's in the pudding as far as like your client testimonials and how they feel afterwards. And I even go to you just for adjustments every so often, every time I get the chance, because you do take most insurances, and and just the copay fee, and you do your job on this, man. And is that what most people go in for when they see you, like just adjustments, or is it just for the?
Usually, when people come in, it's because they're having some sort of pain. Mm-hmm. I think that's the motto that's been kind of instilled in people. Mm-hmm. Like I'll go get treated when something's hurting. Mm-hmm. When I can't do the things that I'm able to do before, mm-hmm. that's when I'll seek help.
What do you call those? Like those old school Mexican soldador.
Yeah.
Like he's not. You're not one of those. Yeah, you're. So it's like because there's like a stigma into like practicing. Being a chiropractor. There's like a stigma that like, oh, it's BS and whatnot. I don't think it is, man. I think there's a lot of benefits that come from the right chiropractor and the right person you approach. And I think you're one of the guys that is legit. The proof's in the pudding when it comes to your resume and the degrees that you've earned. What's your take like on that like stigma behind practicing being a chiropractor?
Well, I feel like that's been going on for like centuries. Mm-hmm. So in our profession, there's actually two types.
Okay.
So there's one half of the profession that kind of just adjusts the spine and lets pretty much everything kind of settle in place, right? Mm-hmm. So they look at more of the subluxation, which is technically like a bone out of place, right?
Okay.
So there's the other half where they do use a lot more modalities, kind of like either the instruments, the cupping, mm-hmm. the adjustment. They start adding like therapeutic exercises, just loading the body. Mm-hmm. And those two sides, sometimes they don't really mix just because of that ideology of each one. Mm-hmm. So on one half, they feel like adjusting the spine is going to cure everything. Mm-hmm. The other half is going to be like, all right, let's actually look at everything else, how it's working together. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, both of them have their points. So like you said, you got to kind of take what one half is saying, what the other half mm-hmm. is saying, and then seeing what you like about it, mm-hmm. and then kind of just using both. Drawing
up your own conclusion.
Yeah.
Right. You ever heard of the toe spacers?
Toe spacer, no.
It's like these little, Jared, they're clean. Can you grab on the table? There's like a little rubber, looks like a little brass knuckles. It's over by the cabinet. See they're clean. I washed them. These things are here, dude. So these things, they go in between your toes.
Oh, okay.
So it just basically spreads your toes out. Man, I wore those for because I don't like wearing the compressed shoes. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on like how that correlates with ankle pain, which correlates with triggers knee pain, which leads to hip pain, which leads to low back pain. And I've actually been using these zero shoes, the wide toe shoes. Mm. So that with the wide toe shoes, man, the first couple days that I wore them, man, the next day my ankles and my knees were so like I worked out, like just sore, just my body adjusted after that. But I'm starting to see some benefits to my toes actually being spread out like how they're supposed to be. And we're talking about how injuries usually trigger from deficiencies in somewhere else. So like if you have low back pain, it could be a hip deficiency. If you have a knee problem, it could be because of your ankles. But I was just really fascinated, and I was tripping based, after I wore those, after having my toes spread out for a couple hours, taking them off the next day, man, I was feeling so sore in my ankle and my knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, I mean, same thing with like insoles. When people wear insoles, they have all these kinds of pains on the bottom of their foot just because they're not used to that. And just with anything, like a lot of times they don't tell them. They come in, they tell me that I didn't work. Like I was using them like every day, all day. And I just felt more pain. So then for that, you also have to kind of like start off with just 1 hour, put them on, walk around, do whatever, right? And then next day, maybe do 2 hours. Start building up on that.
Right.
Just because your body's not used to all that.
Right.
So now wherever you felt like the ankle, the knees, all that soreness, then that's just your body telling you that you're using either different muscles there or just different movements in general.
Right. Yeah. That was something that really tripped me out. I was like, man, my knees feel like I went for a freaking run yesterday or a long, strenuous run. Actually been getting a lot of benefit off those. I've been doing a lot of toe and foot drills before my leg digs, and just muscle connection, body connection with my feet. Who would have thought like that would have played a factor into actually lifting? My buddy Phil got me in on those, man. He works a lot with like AccuMobility. He goes to a lot of seminars and he's affiliated with AccuMobility, and they do a lot of good work, man. And the prehab guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do a lot of very similar work, man. He's very educated when it comes to those, and he actually got me on those toe spacers.
Nice.
Yeah, man, they're not bad. I think I got them for like $7 on Amazon. But you just throw them on your feet, walk around barefoot. You know what I mean? It looks silly, man. My grandma is always like, put your freaking shoes on. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I'm walking on the grass. Relax, chill out. But that's like an old school thought. Like, oh, you walk around barefoot, you're going to get sick.
Yeah, you're going to catch a cold. Yeah.
It's BS. It's BS. It's poor, but they're just products of, the environment they grew up in and what they were told and exposed to. And it's just, you're not going to get sick where you're walking around barefoot. It's probably better for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, me personally, like, I don't like walking barefoot unless I'm like at the beach or like, by the pool. I don't know. It's just something with me. Like I'll walk around the house sometimes, but for some reason, since I was a little kid, like
just dirty feet.
Oh, not even that. Like, I don't know. It's just something that I never really got accustomed to.
Oh, I'm a hippie, so I kind of like that, man. Usually the grass is all dried up outside, but like one of my favorite things to do when, there is grass there is first thing in the morning is I'll have my coffee and I'll just walk out barefoot on the grass and let the sun hit me a little bit. And that's like a nice little energy recharge boost, whatever you want to call it, man. Let the sun hit you. It's like called grounding.
Yeah.
It's called grounding. It's like you just, I'll dig my feet into the dirt and the grass and just, work those feet muscles and, letting the sun hit me. It's just a nice recharge, just to get your day started.
Well, I went to the beach, I think like 2 days ago, and heading over there, I was tired. I was like, all right, I need a coffee or something. Once we got there, took off my sandals, started walking on the beach, got my feet wet there, got a little sunlight there, and after that, I felt like super energetic.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? It's almost as if there's a large battery in the sky. You know what I mean? It's almost as if, man. You said you're going to your client's fight coming up. Is he fighting for a championship right now, or is it just a regular?
No, right now he's coming up still.
Coming up still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what his record is. Somewhere around like 10-0.
Okay.
So he's moving up.
Okay. And that's a pro promotion that he's fighting at.
Yes.
Right on. What was his name again? I want to look him up after.
Omar Trinidad.
See, I'm not really in the boxing game. You know what? Like I train a few fighters, and I got to get back into the into watching what's going on. I used to be really big into MMA as a kid. This was like the freaking Matt Hughes, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture days. Kind of got out of it. There's just so much like overconsumption. Like if you really are in it, it's for me, it's over consuming, man. There's a fight every weekend.
Yeah. And
then you mix that in with just stuff that I like watching. So I've narrowed it down. I found my system. So it's like anything Marvel, anything, like stand-up. There's a few stand-up comics that I really enjoy watching, and just Charger games. That's what I had to narrow it down just for my own sanity, because you're just like me, where we're exposed to the internet and all this content that's available. I had to narrow it down to, okay, between my phone and the TV. I barely even have a TV, man. It's a fucking piece of shit TV. It's old. But I had to limit myself on just the consumption of content because there's just so much up right now. Are you a Star Wars guy?
Yeah.
What'd you think about Kenobi?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah, I loved it.
I didn't understand the negative feedback from it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was entertaining. It kind of mixed with everything else as well. So, yeah, I loved it.
Who's your favorite character when it comes to Star Wars?
Star Wars, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, for sure.
Yeah, I'm more a dark side kind of
Dark side? Okay, no, that's not a problem. For me, it was always Kenobi, man. Kenobi was always intriguing to me, even from A New Hope for some reason. Just seeing how he guided Luke and helped him, get to where he was. And then in the prequels, what's his name? Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
How badass was it hearing that they got Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back for that show?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing, dude.
What else? What else do you find yourself like watching on your free time?
Dude, I actually watch a lot of movies. Not as much now, but if I have a little bit of time, I'll watch a movie. Either if it's a Marvel movie, I'll watch it. Like I recently saw Thor.
What did you think about Thor?
It was entertaining, but I feel like the other ones were a little bit better. Just because
Ragnarok set the bar really high.
Yeah,
Ragnarok was really good. This one wasn't bad. I wish there was a little bit more. My only critique about it was I wish there was a little bit more Christian Bale involved.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to see him butcher some gods. You know what I mean? And it was good. I think it got a lot of like negative feedback because it was too silly. Dude, you're watching a superhero movie. You're watching a superhero movie, man.
That's what DC is for.
You want a little more gritty approach for sure. Any shows that you're watching right now?
Yes. Watching Queen of the South, actually.
What's that one?
That one's like about these narcos. She's pretty much coming up from nothing, and then she becomes a boss.
Okay.
So there's like 5 seasons on it.
That's a thing right now, like the narco approach, because you got like the actual show Narcos. What's the other one? Ozark? Isn't that like a Ozark? Yeah, that's like a cartel show. I haven't watched that one yet. And then what's Queen of the South?
Queen of the South. Oh, yeah, that one I was actually rooting for the cartel leader.
Which one, on Queen of the South?
Yeah.
Where's that one based in?
That one's based off of, they're in Mexico. They're in like New Orleans, Miami. And I think they did a season like in somewhere in Europe.
Oh, okay. Any sports you're watching? Because you're a baseball guy too. I forgot. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. You're a baseball guy. Where'd you play ball at?
I played ball like Bell High.
Bell High.
Yeah, so I did like 4 years there.
What position?
At Bell High, I was pitching.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pitching, and then throughout Little League, I was pitching. I was playing short.
You're a pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I didn't know you're a pitcher. Were you? Because I'm not too big on baseball. There's relievers. There's the closers.
Starters, yeah.
The starters, relievers, and closers.
Yeah.
Where'd you find yourself at the most pitching?
Well, pretty much growing up, I was a starter, but then they'll throw you in relief there, here and there. In high school, pretty much whenever they kind of put you in. But then after high school, like that's...
Did you find your shoulder kind of going out?
My shoulder was... Like I had surgery for...
shoulder surgery?
Well, not shoulder surgery, but I had a appendectomy. So they removed my appendix, and that got a little bit complicated. So I was out for like maybe 2 months, 3 months. When I came back, like my shoulder was hurting. I feel like I came back a little bit too soon, and I didn't really know where to go. So I didn't know about any like physical therapy, chiropractic, anything like that. So I kind of just like did my own, trying to get back in the game. And it helped for a bit, but yeah, my shoulder after that wasn't the same. Yeah.
Did part of that like correlate with you wanting to get into physical therapy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like that was kind of like where it led me towards that path, where I want to get people that are in pain or like have some injuries and then getting them back on the field. That way they continue with what they love.
Right. Given like the guidance that you kind of wish that you probably would have had as a kid. So looking back, like, with your shoulder injury, what would you have put yourself through? Like if you could turn back the clock and knowing what you know now, how would you have handled that?
I think I'd take it a little bit easier getting back because I was out for like 2 months. I lost like maybe 30, 40 pounds at that point. And at that point, I was just trying to gain the weight and getting back into shape. I remember like the first run that I tried out, I was going to try to run one lap, but I only ran like maybe that little corner on the football field.
Yeah.
And I was winded. I was done. That was it. So then each day I was trying to push myself a little bit more. Certain days where I would push myself a little too much, where I started feeling the pain there. And that kind of set me back a bit. So I kind of had the right idea, get back a little bit stronger, getting into fitness. Yeah. Right. But I feel like since I missed throwing a ball, I felt like I got it back into that a little bit too soon. So I would have probably if I've done things differently, I'd wait a little bit longer and start progressing that as well. Start getting that shoulder ready.
So if there's like baseball players that are listening to this, what are some like exercises or like treatment options they could do to keep their shoulder strong and healthy? Because I train a couple baseball players as well, so I'm learning from hearing you talk.
Yeah, so I think with any baseball player, since there's a lot of rotation involved, you definitely want to work out that core, those hips. Mm-hmm. That's where your power is coming from.
Right.
So especially also the mid back, you want to get that a little bit more mobile, since that's where you get that extension, that rotation from. Mm-hmm. So if that's moving properly, that's moving efficiently, your shoulder won't take as much of that load.
Because you're relying too much on the shoulder to throw the ball as opposed to the actual body, like the whole entire body working into it.
Yes. Oh, okay. So if you're not using your hips, you're not using your whole body to throw a ball, mm-hmm. then your shoulder's taking that load each time. Mm-hmm. And then eventually that's when you're young, you could throw forever.
Right.
And come back the next day like feeling fine.
It's just the accumulation of doing that and then relying on just the arm, and that's when it pays dividends in the wrong way. That's how that buildup happens, and you get those ailments. Okay. So what are some like drills that if you were coaching an athlete or working them up, like what would you put them through? Like as far as you said the core, you said your hips, you said your mid back. Like what are just off the top of your head some like exercises or movements that you could do or we could do for that?
You could do some like lunges, either forward, sideways. Start mm-hmm. working those angles. Mm-hmm. Just because, especially if you're pitching, you want to work on that kind of like frontal plane. Mm-hmm. So you want to get moving in that direction, right. And then start working on that rotation. So some mobility exercises that you could do for the thoracic spine. The simple one would be like threading the needle, mm-hmm. get in like all fours, and then start kind of like moving your arm.
Right. I like those.
That one, a lot of one that like I like implementing too. Simple. You're standing. You're kind of like drawing an arrow. So mm-hmm. you're gonna bringing the arrow back here and then rotating here, stretching.
Is that from a kneeled position?
You could do a standing. You could do a kneeling. Mm-hmm. Another one I like doing against the wall too. That one's kneeling. So you're gonna have one knee on the ground, one knee kind of propped up, mm-hmm. and then you're just kind of going into like a half circle right there.
Right.
Going back. That's really gonna open up that thoracic spine.
Okay. And then one thing I've been doing for them too is like typewriters. That lateral lunge motion. I've been living on. Those are making me feel good. So when how many athletes work that plane, lateral plane? Not too many, man. It's a lot of it's forward, backwards, up, down, and man, that's one thing I'm gonna steal the arrow. I like that one a lot because I've done the one where you're kneeling against the wall. I do that one a lot. I thread the needle, but the you said pulling the arrow and reaching back. I learned something today. I've seen that before, but it's like one of those. There's just so much like to throw in and to do. It's like sometimes like I've forgotten about so many movements that when I hear, oh, that's right, I forgot about that one. But I am gonna take that one with me by the end of today, man. Anything else you want to throw in and talk about, man? Anything else top of your mind?
No, not really.
No, you're good. We hit a lot, man. Yeah. Hey, Enrique, I really want to thank you for coming in, man. It means a lot to me for you to take time out of your day. I know you're a fun guy. I always see you. Oh, camping. We didn't talk about camping, man. Oh, you're a big camper. Yeah. You have any trips coming up?
Heading to Tahoe next weekend.
I saw a video of one of my buddies there. It looked freaking packed over there.
It's amazing, dude.
It's amazing, but it looked packed, man. I saw it on the sand. It was just canopies up everywhere, and
you gotta find the right spots.
The spots?
Yeah, we'll talk.
We'll talk. I really want to say this out. Any other trips coming up after that, or where's the spot you do want to like? What's on your list of like camping?
Well, there's a few spots I want to go. Mm-hmm. So I do want to do a road trip, mm-hmm. starting from here, and first stop would probably be Yellowstone.
It's about a 20-hour drive, 19-hour drive.
So I want to check that place out. And then head to Montana.
You got to hit Glacier.
Yeah.
That's where I did a road trip. Actually, this week last year, I went for my birthday last year. We did a road trip. I did a straight shot from here to Montana. Fucking 22 hours straight, dude. That was like, I think I killed like 10 monsters, and yeah, man, it was a straight shot. I think with maybe just a couple stops, to use the restroom, but I did a straight shot from here to Montana. Glacier is amazing, man. You would love Glacier.
I've seen the pictures, the videos. Mm-hmm. It looks amazing.
Avalanche Lake. That's I'll show you a video of that one after. That place is so scenic. That's probably my favorite place on the planet so far. Mm-hmm. It is so scenic. It's not a strenuous hike either. But when you get to the actual lake, it looks like you ever see Small Soldiers?
Small Soldiers.
That's old movie where the Gorgonites. That's like that's where they call home. Anyways, it's a bad reference, but it's just oh man, so scenic. But you would love Glacier. I didn't really, for some reason, it went over my head. I didn't realize Yellowstone was on the way, and you pass through Yellowstone to get to Glacier.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that. If I would have known that, I would have made both stops. But I was so set on Glacier. Dude, it's so amazing. So we talked to a couple of the natives around there, the ones who weren't racist, and they were and they gave us a rundown of what to do, man. And there's a nice bison range you could do over there. It was so funny because we're talking to the guy. We were at our campgrounds, our neighbor, and he was just giving us a rundown of like, okay, if you guys aren't familiar, this is what you're doing. There's a bison range, and it's like $2 to go in. You drive in. It's like a safari kind of. So you drive in, and he goes, the key to that is you got to go at least like stay at 2 miles an hour, because you stay 2 miles an hour. When you go any faster than that, it makes a lot of noise, and the bison dip below the brush. So if you want to see the bison, you drive real slow. He's like, yeah, take a 24 pack with you, and just kind of kill it. I'm like, I've had experience with it. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't think I'm doing that one. But man, we were able to see the herd of bison, and saw a grizzly bear and her cub up there. That was amazing. I mean, as scary as that sounds, it was one of the, like, something I'll never forget, man. And just like with the scenery in the background, the mountain, the sunset, it was just like, I'm never gonna forget that imprint. That's gonna be there forever. But you'll love there, man. You'll love Glacier. See that those roads was it Yellowstone that got demolished by that landslide?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, man. It got pretty wrecked. There was a landslide, and it jacked up a lot of the roads around there.
Oh,
so I think Yellowstone might be out of commission right now. I'm not sure how long it's going to take for them to fix it, but one of my clients just brought that to my attention. Where do I want to go to? Have you been to the Red Rocks in Colorado?
No, I haven't. No.
That's another place I think I'd like to go. Just do some camping and hiking in Colorado. There's a lot of scenic areas out there in national parks. What parks have you hit?
I've gone to Yosemite, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Zion, and Olympic National Park. And I think that's it for them. Oh, Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree. Okay, nice. Hector and I were up at Kings Canyon recently, man. That was my first time there. Amazing. There's a nice little backpacking trail. I forgot what the actual trail is called. I actually want to go back and backpack that trail. We might have gotten, I think, like 8 miles in before we decided to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Hector's fat ass wasn't going to keep up, dude. I mean that with love. He would tell me the same thing. He was actually the guy that when I was going through my little slump, hey fat ass, drunk, when are you going to stop drinking? You know what I mean? A little bit of tough love, but I needed it, man. And Hector, how he is. And
yeah.
He knew what to say and how to say it, when to say it. And yeah, he's one of the guys that I can kind of attribute to getting my head out of my ass.
Yeah, I need those kind of people.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if your friends aren't like telling you like, hey, you're hitting a certain limit, like let's
pull back,
do a few changes there. Then yeah, if they're just kind of letting you go, not friends. Telling you, yeah,
you might want to do some reevaluation. He was probably the only person around that was telling me, hey, fat ass, like, come on, let's get our shit together. And I can't thank him enough for that, man. But yeah, we're about an hour in, Enrique. And like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. Do you want to tell the camera where they could find you, how to find you, and all that stuff? Any little plugs?
Yeah, so I'm in the city of Bell Gardens, so you can find me at 7312 Scout Avenue. We're in Unit G, and then right there, it's pretty much like Florence and Scout Avenue. It's a little bit hidden, so if you know, that's kind of one of the places there.
Right.
A lot of times people can walk in there and then they're like, is this the right place? Because they're also next to a boxing gym. So that's why they see a lot of boxing stuff there.
And social media tags?
Social media, I'm at Be Better Chiropractic. And yeah.
Is that Instagram? Twitter? You're not on Twitter or Facebook? Nothing?
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of probably starting like maybe a YouTube, TikTok here and there, but
I got to see the TikTok dance. All right, my guy. Hey, Enrique, I appreciate you coming by, man. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you.